Welcome to this mt4gadgets.com video around MQL4 versus MQL5. So in this video we'll see some of the main differences between the MetaTrader 4 MQL4 language compared to the MetaTrader 5 and MQL5 language. So the two are slightly different. There is a maturity that is coming with a newer version, and we'll see here in the table. So let's start first with the release year. So MetaTrader 4 or MQL4, and as a reminder, MQL stands for Meta Quotes Language. The MQL4 language was released together with MetaTrader 4 back in 2005, while MQL5 came out with the MetaTrader 5 in 2010. However, it is also important to mention that probably the first few years of MQL5 and MetaTrader 5 were not very easy. The platform was very new, and it took quite a long time to start being adopted due to some very big differences both in the programming language as well as in the maturity of the platform. Moving on, in terms of execution model, MQL4 has an order send based approach where you need to send individual orders or close individual orders, while that has changed with MQL5, which is more position based oriented. So you basically open a position, you can increase the position, reduce the position, close the position, but most of the interactions in terms of trading happens with position execution. In terms of event handling, MQL4 was very limited. It wasn't designed for a very strong event handling process, while MQL5 has event handling at the forefront. So it's based and it's designed to manage events in a much better way. Being more recent, MQL5 has very good support for object-oriented programming, while MQL4 initially started with no support at all for object-oriented programming, and then later on with a few updates, it started to have some basic support. But for object-oriented programming, definitely MQL5 is the stronger one. Order management is partially related to the execution model. So you have, again, separate orders in MQL4, while MQL5 deals with positions. So you also have netting and hedging options in there. Big, huge difference is in the backtesting. MQL4 is designed for single-threaded backtesting, so you can only use one thread, one core of your CPU, which is very limiting with nowadays processors, while MQL5 is multi-threaded by nature, and it's able to split or run in parallel multiple backtests, which increases the performance significantly. File extensions, they reflect the version of the MQL language. So for MQL4, you have .mq4 and .ex4 extensions, while for MQL5, you have MQ5 and EX5 extensions. The support for libraries and include files is supported in both. However, MQL5 has a bit broader support for these two modules. When it comes to indicators limits, if you look at MQL4, you see that there is a limit of 8 buffers that can be used in custom tools. So if you have a custom indicators or if you have expert advisors, you only have 8 buffers that you can work with, while in MQL5 there is no limitation to how many indicators and buffers you can have your study and criteria in the custom tool. Looking at predefined functions, MQL4 is using the init, the start, and the deinit custom or predefined functions, while MQL5, also related to how it's event handling oriented, it has a predefined function on init, on tick, and on the init. Moving on, for predefined variables, the naming convention or the syntax is slightly different, with MQL4 just using words, while MQL5 it also adds an underscore. And here the documentation comes very handy to understand all of the different predefined variables available. When it comes to array indexing is basically the opposite. In MQL4, you have arrays that go from right to left, where the index 0 is the current bar. So if you think about your bar or your sequence of price, the index 0 will be the most recent bar or the current one. In MQL5, that is the opposite, with index 0 being the most left or the furthest in the past bar available. Although there are ways and there are native functions where you can treat an array as an index, and MQL5 has this option to kind of adapt to this difference compared to MQL4. External keyword behavior, you might not know, depending on your familiarity with the code. Extern is your use of input when you create your custom tool. With extern, you define which variables are coming from an external party, and in MQL4 you can change the input or the value of the input, while in MQL5 it uses the same way as C and C++, so extern cannot be changed. Lastly, the use of iCustom function. In MQL4 you have the value, the buffer value returned, while in MQL5 it returns a handle. I know it might not make much sense. It will make sense more when you start coding. If you have been coding with MQL4 for a while, you will find this is a bit different to adjust, but it's really just a first adaptation, and then you will find that using the handle, it's actually very useful. Mention to migration from MQL4 to MQL5. It's not that easy. MQL4 is different from MQL5, so if you were to try to just copy paste some source code from an MQL4 program to an MQL5, that will probably not work straight away. You will need to adapt the code and adjust for all of the changes that are in the MQL5 language. And in terms of my favorite, it's I already expressed in my other video around the MT4 versus MT5 battle or debate, and this is the same. I honestly prefer MQL5 language. And this is also because I prefer MT5 platform. And this is because a mix. One, well, I prefer MetaTrader 5 because you can trade more assets and the backtesting capabilities are much more developed in the MetaTrader 5 platform. And same with MQL5. MQL5 is a better language, is a faster. It can use multi-thread. It use positions instead of orders. And after a first adaptation from MQL4 to MQL5, probably you will find the same, that yes, MQL5 is a superior programming language than MQL4. So hopefully that clarified some of the differences between MQL4 and MQL5, and hopefully that also helped you understanding better some of the choices of using MQL5 instead of MQL4. So hopefully this video was useful. If you haven't already, come and check us out at mt4gadgets.com, and I hope to see you soon.